Welcome back to another Investment Explainer. Today we are zeroing in on a highly strategic asset that sits right at the intersection of agriculture, resource independence, and the massive booming green economy. We're talking about the Kyzyl-Tokoy glauconite deposit. If you're hunting for projects where raw geology literally turns into high profit margins, well, you're in exactly the right spot. Let's dive right into this data-driven breakdown.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the fertilizer deficit problem. Then ask what exactly is the mineral glauconite, look at the immense potential of Kyzyl-Tokoy, its value for agriculture, the financial model and economics, and finally, the investment opportunity window.
Okay, let's dive right into part 1, the fertilizer deficit problem.
286,000. Keep that number in your head for a second, because that is exactly how many tons of chemical fertilizers Kyrgyzstan is forced to import every single year. It is a colossal volume for the country's agricultural sector. And, this massive deficit creates a really fundamental macroeconomic vulnerability. You're dealing with a total reliance on foreign supplies, complex cross-border logistics, and absolutely unpredictable global price fluctuations. When your baseline resource for growing food relies entirely on imports, you're operating in a major zone of risk.
So right now, we're looking at a massive outflow of foreign currency, which makes the agricultural sector super vulnerable. But here's the kicker. A local solution could instantly cover up to 70% of that national need. The domestic market practically guarantees robust demand right out of the gate. Plus, the wider global trend toward organic farming, that opens up some incredibly lucrative export markets in neighboring Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. This is essentially a textbook import substitution scenario, a local product directly solving an urgent national pain point.
Moving on to part 2. What exactly is the mineral glauconite?
So, glauconite. It's actually a marine mineral, naturally loaded with potassium and iron, and its unique value lies entirely in its chemical composition. It's technically a hydrous aluminous silicate, which is really just a fancy way of saying it packs up to 28% iron and between 4 and 9.5% potassium, along with crucial stuff like magnesium and silica. Unlike those aggressive synthetic chemicals that just wash right out of the topsoil, glauconite's microcrystalline structure acts like a giant natural sponge. It releases these vital nutrients slowly, precisely when the crops actually need them.
And nature actually spent millions of years perfecting this exact recipe. This mineral formed in the shallow shelf zones of ancient seas back in the Cretaceous and Paleogene periods, at depths of up to 150 meters. Slow, deliberate sedimentation over epochs did all the heavy lifting for us, completely free from modern industrial pollutants. The big strategic takeaway here is that unlike synthetic fertilizers, glauconite requires absolutely zero complex, expensive industrial chemical synthesis. Nature already crafted it perfectly, which makes it an ideal candidate for strict, premium organic certification.
All right, part 3, the potential of Kyzyl-Tokoy.
The defining factor of this asset is just the sheer scale of the thing. We are not talking about some tiny, localized vein here. We're talking truly colossal reserves in the Jalalabad region. Total ore reserves are estimated at up to 18.5 million tons, with about 15 million tons of that being pure, clean glauconite ore. These figures are rock solid, backed by fundamental geological research by leading academicians. For an investor, what does that mean? It translates into an operational runway of more than 50 years, even if you're aggressively mining 300,000 tons a year. This is literally a multi-generational asset.
And here's where it gets really interesting for the economics. Because this glauconite sits super shallow in sedimentary rock formations, we completely eliminate the need for expensive, complex underground mine shafts. Open-pit mining is the name of the game here, and that radically drops the base capital expenditures from day one. At the same time, your operational expenses are highly optimized because the raw material extraction itself is incredibly cheap, and you have accessible regional labor. This geological reality shifts your whole business focus away from difficult, messy mining and redirects it straight toward logistics and highly profitable final product enrichment.
Which brings us to part 4, value for agriculture, or, the so what for the farmers.
When farmers actually use this stuff, we see massive, documented yield growth across the board compared to old baseline methods. Wheat yields jump by a solid 30%, and cotton goes up by 15%. But potatoes show a phenomenal increase of 70%, and in some trials, guys, up to 80%. For the everyday farmer, these aren't just abstract statistics. This is a massive multiplier on total profit per hectare.
It completely answers the foundational business question of why the agricultural sector is going to aggressively adopt this product.
So, why does it work so amazingly well? It boils down to 3 core mechanics on a micro level: nutrition, structure, and protection. First, plants get a steady, continuous, slow release of essential potassium and magnesium. Second, the mineral physically transforms the soil's structure, vastly improving aeration and moisture retention so the field doesn't just dry out. And third, glauconite acts as a protective barrier with incredible sorption properties. It literally binds heavy metals and toxins right there in the dirt, preventing them from ever entering the plant root system. The end result? A much larger yield of exceptionally clean, premium crops.
Let's talk money. Part 5, Financial Model and Economics.
The investment architecture for this project is highly logical, safely broken down into 3 scalable phases. Phase 1 is the pilot phase, requiring about $2.5 to $3 million. That covers final exploration, licensing, and initial extraction, giving you a quick 2 to 4 year payback. Scaling up, the mid-sized phase takes $5 to $15 million to establish a highly lucrative full-cycle facility for crushing, drying, and granulation. Finally, the large-scale phase focuses on massive export capacity, needing $20 to $50 million. You can basically enter strategically, grab those early returns, and scale up smoothly by reinvesting profits.
Now, processing depth is the absolute margin driver for this entire operation. If you just mine it and do some basic crushing, you get a raw base powder. It's perfect for the local market and sells for between $50 and $150 a ton. But the moment you introduce drying and granulation, boom! You instantly enter the premium segment. These enriched granules are specially tailored for organic farming and international export, and they command premium prices from $150 to well over $300 per ton. That extra processing step directly and dramatically skyrockets your ultimate windfall profits. To put that into perspective, let's look at the unit economics for a mid-sized enterprise pumping out 30,000 tons a year. Target margins sit at an incredible 25 to 45%. With projected annual revenues hovering between $1.5 and $4.5 million, and operating costs kept super low due to the cheap raw material, the target EBITDA lands solidly between $500,000 and $2 million annually once the facility hits full capacity. The underlying financial model here is extremely robust, providing a great buffer against normal market volatility.
And finally, Part 6, the investment opportunity window. Look, every major opportunity has its hurdles, right? We have to be objective. The undeniable strengths of this project are those colossal 15 million ton confirmed reserves, the incredibly low cost of open pit extraction, and that premium organic export potential. But we definitely have to weigh those against real-world barriers. The logistics in the mountainous Chatkal region are complex, and they do increase transportation costs. Also, the global fertilizer market is deeply seasonal, and capturing top-dollar pricing means you need significant upfront investment in rigorous international organic certifications and marketing.
But when you synthesize all these variables, a deeply compelling equation emerges. Cheap open-pit mining combined with a confirmed 50-year reserve, intersecting with a massive domestic deficit and a booming global eco-trend, it equals a highly unique investment window. With strategic, disciplined capital injected into logistics and processing infrastructure, this localized asset is perfectly positioned to become a dominant, high-margin leader in the wider regional agrochemical market. The shift from relying on heavy imports to highly profitable local organic production, it's happening right now. The underlying data is verified, those massive geological reserves are confirmed, and the market deficit is crystal clear. So the only question left is, are you ready to participate in the region's green transition? Thank you so much for hanging out with us for this deep dive investment explainer, and we will catch you next time.